Hi everybody, I hope you're having a great day. In this video, I'm going to be covering Omega. He made his first appearance in Batman, Last Night on Earth, issue number 1, that was released in May of 2019. He's the Bruce Thomas Wayne of the Elseworld future timeline, having the exact same history and physical statistics of the Prime Earth Bruce Wayne. Standing 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighing 210 pounds, also having blue eyes with black hair that's now turned gray. This older Bruce Wayne is a beast and doesn't have any of the moral hindrances that Prime Earth Bruce has, being completely obsessed with dominating the Earth for what he considers its own good. And that even includes taking out villains or heroes that don't follow his lead. This being said, Omega has peak-level human conditioning, is a master at all forms of combat and tactical situations, has the best tracking and investigative skills on Earth, as well as being considered one of the most intelligent people on the planet, with Lex Luthor widely being considered the only one on his level. And to round all of this out, Omega dons his own version of the Batsuit, which increases his durability and other abilities. So yeah, he has all bases covered, because he's Batman. Now, the divergence in the histories of the original good Batman and this evil version happens when this older Bruce Wayne discovers the body of a child in Crime Alley. Using DNA and planted documents, this Bruce determines that this was the son of Joe Chill, who happens to be the man accused of killing Bruce Wayne's parents when he was young. Bruce would then confront Joe about it at his apartment, but wouldn't really get any true answers from him. But from the information that Bruce could gather, he concluded that the real reason that Joe killed his parents was for revenge on his father, Dr. Thomas Wayne, having performed malpractice on his son, the body that he found. With the forged documents that I mentioned earlier also leading him to believe that there was a cover-up of this tragedy. This seeming revelation rocked Batman's world, making him question his purpose for being Batman in the first place. However, what this Batman didn't know is that this whole thing was just a ruse created by Joker, who had planted this cloned body and documents to harden Batman for what he knew was coming in the future. You see, during this time there were many different crises all over the planet, which led to Lex Luthor challenging Superman to a live debate on TV, with them arguing the merits of good versus evil, and the loser being subject to impalement by kryptonite shards. This decision was supposedly tied to the subconscious will of the entire human race. And despite Superman as well as Lex believing that Supes had won the debate, Superman would be the one impaled and buried. Shortly after this, mankind as a whole descended into chaos, with the populace turning on heroes and villains. But when swarms of rioters attacked the Hall of Justice, Batman decided not to fight them and actually let them in, believing that he could reason with them. Amazingly and unfortunately, a crowd of men, women, and children attacked him, beating him so badly that the world thought he was dead. But through sheer force of his indomitable will, Bruce survived, albeit losing all of his faith in humanity and deciding to implement order on the planet by using force. His resourcefulness would allow for this seasoned Batman to take out the new god Darkseid, putting his head on a spear and using a modified version of the anti-life equation to subjugate the minds of much of the population. Now, as Omega, he would wreak havoc all across the planet, devising successful plans that would take out scores of heroes, even wiping out most all of the Amazons, who at the time were being ruled by Wonder Woman. Omega would go on to rebuild Wayne Manor on top of Wayne Tower, and use this location as the capital for his domain. Omega had created what he thought was order, but it was at the cost of everyone's free will, with the resistance against him being comprised of only a handful of people, being led by his old ally, Tim Drake. So to completely blanket the entire Earth with the irresistible anti-life equation, Omega devised a plan to use the telepathic powers of a brainwashed Martian Manhunter. In the meantime, Omega would also decide that it was time to create a successor for himself, directing his old butler Alfred Pennyworth to make a clone of himself in his prime, so that he could easily be groomed to become the next Omega. But Alfred would actually create a clone of Bruce with all his memories up until the riots, and would then run off with him, conditioning him to be against his evil counterpart. Yet despite Alfred eventually being tracked down by the Scarecrow, who was one of the many villains now working for Omega, the young, heroic clone of Bruce Wayne would now take up the mantle of Batman, and ally with Wonder Woman, surviving members of the Bat family, and the Joker, who comically was now a disembodied head living in a jar. They would all infiltrate Wayne Tower, But, of course, Omega, still being Batman, had already anticipated this, and would capture his young clone, restraining him to the Mobius chair, which itself was modified to brainwash the new Batman to become his successor. And after a brief moment of explaining himself to the young Bruce, Omega would leave for Wayne Manor, also giving the Mobius chair time to complete what it was programmed to do. But the young clone, being Batman, managed to escape, and would go find Omega on Wayne Tower for the final battle. Omega fought the young Batman viciously, using the spear with Darkseid's head on it to impale Batman through his torso. But as he monologued to his minions after what he thought was a victory, the young Batman proved to be resilient, actually conjuring the strength to remove the spear from his torso, rock Omega across the back of his head with it, and then spear the evil Batman through his throat, which would finally put an end to Omega's misguided campaign. Now, due to his abilities and his influence on the DC universe, for my 1 to 10 rating, I'll give Omega a rating of 8, which is an unforgettable rating. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and join the new Sage.